You know you are tuning in for something special when the Avengers of comedy join hands together. Ahmed Khan on the director's chair with Farhad Samji writing the dialogues. This is going to be a long one. Welcome to the Jungle is the third installment of the Welcome franchise that has nothing to do with the previous installment. Anis Bazmi directed the 2007 film and everyone remembers it as an iconic comedy film that just cannot be matched. The terrible memory of the unnecessary sequel Welcome Back in 2015 is still etched in my memory as one of the worst theatre experiences, as we were to assume that John Abraham is equally capable in comedy than Akshay Kumar, and now with an entire rehaul of the cast and crew, 11 years later we have Welcome to the Jungle, a movie whose principal photography began in December of 2023 and has released almost 3 years later, going through its own hurdles and permutations and combinations before ultimately releasing, something that is inevitable when your movie poster looks like Dadar station during peak hours. Welcome to the Jungle credits the late Neeraj Vora with a storyline credit for this movie, and I'll tell you why you can notice remnants of this magic somewhere in this film. Anyway, it's so clear that the skeleton of this movie borrows the idea from the hilarious Hollywood film Tropic Thunder. I mean, the literal plot gives it away. Welcome to the Jungle focuses on a businessman played by Zakir Hussain, who fears that there will be an income tax raid soon on him. In order to evade the authorities and not get nabbed for constantly finding a way to avoid taxes, he comes up with the idea with his secretary played by Johnny Lever to invest money in a movie and make the worst movie possible. The idea of a flop movie that loses crores of money is a way to launder his cash with the hopes that the authorities stop paying attention to him. The only way one can make the worst movie possible is to hire the worst cast and crew, and we get the ensemble cast being recruited for this movie that include not only terrible directors and a poor cinematographer, but a bunch of flop actors from the industry, making sure that the film is a disaster. As cash gets burnt on the film set and certain roadblocks arise for the money being invested, the talent find themselves engaging in guerrilla filmmaking, interacting with real villagers of a place called Azad Ganj that is tormented by a real terrorist Zatara played by Jackie Shroff. The comedy of errors that follows is the premise that it's essentially a film within a film, but the stakes reach a point of life and death because the cast and crew is dealing with real people in a real village with real problems, having no idea that a film is being shot. And this is the premise of Welcome to the Jungle. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the movie so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch the movie in theaters or not. The good. Are they cooking and false hope? I know this is going to be shocking to all of you, and I know the expectation from all of you looking at the promo of this movie is that this is going to be a train wreck, just, hot garbage, right? I have to tell you that the first half of this movie, with some major comedic set pieces, genuinely had me laughing out loud in theaters. I'm telling you this not as an observer जो बहक जाता है atmosphere की वजह से कि लोग हंस रहे हैं तो मैं भी हंसूं. This is not a case of the environment was fun so I started laughing. There are genuinely such laugh out loud moments in the first half of this movie that made me look on the side and wonder and exclaim, are they really cooking? Is Farhad Nolan Samji genuinely cooking here? This is especially true when the movie is self-aware in its tone and the actors and makers are in on the joke, becoming essentially a parody commentary on the film industry. The reason why the portions of the first half, in my opinion, are genuinely hilarious is because the movie's story, the skeleton of dim-witted actors, untalented directors, the finances, acting fees, business fraud, negotiations, talent and their egos, and this need to hog the limelight is genuinely funny. When the film sticks to this self-aware tone, this intentionally over-the-top pitch that many term as brain rot today, it lands. And I really started to wonder, we may be in for a surprise. But as is the case with these type of movies that establish themes well but don't know how to end them, it progressively becomes underwhelming on how it explores its second half, especially becoming a tough watch when it strips the movie from its self-aware comedic pitch and becomes this nothing burger of back-to-back poorly edited action scenes. I must tell you again that this movie was genuinely making me hold back imaginary people around me, observing that the makers may have just done the mindless fun right on point, but this is sadly only restricted to the first half. Standout gags and actors. Speaking about the self-aware tone of this movie, Akshay Kumar genuinely carries this film. The man is absolutely hilarious in the first half, especially. He is playing a has-been commercial actor in the movie, and the man fully invests in becoming the butt of the joke. He has no shame in being the clown, being slapped around, being insulted, and it genuinely accounts for some hilarious moments. Having transitioned to Bhojpuri cinema as he is down and out with his luck, many people find the song Ghis Ghis with Akshay to be crass, but that was the entire point of the song, that a man is saying yes to anything being offered to him. Akshay's scene with the directors negotiating his acting fees for the movie is absolutely hilarious, willing to do the movie at any price only to realize that they have all the funds possible to throw at him. There is a point where Akshay Kumar appears for the red carpet event of this movie and pretends that he himself has not called the paparazzi, annoyed that the cameraman is exposing him by saying, "Aapne hi to hame yahan bulaya tha." The best sequence of events, however, include the portion of guerrilla filmmaking where the cast is performing and the villagers are unaware that they are actors, assuming that they are from the actual army coming to save them from Zatara. This entire sequence presents fickle egos of Akshay Kumar, Suniel Shetty and Arshad Warsi hogging the limelight, each one delivering dialogues to ensure that they make the final edit, and it's one of the most hilarious sequences from the movie. The scene is filled with meta references of the industry and its observations, and for those deeply entrenched in all the news related to Bollywood, it's an absolute ball. Raveena Tandon is found asking Akshay where he was for these 20 years. The Mora background score is utilized for both of them. Akshay hands over money to the cinematographer constantly, ensuring that he only focuses the camera on him. An extension of the rumor that Akshay would actually go on the editing table of his movies in the mid-2000s and edit portions out of his co-actors.
ये मेरी एक फिल्म आने वाली है जाने मन, उसमें ये सलमान खान का बहुत अच्छा रोमांटिक रोल था, रील था, तो मैंने काट के अपने पास रख लिया.
Suniel Shetty and Arshad Warsi try their best in this sequence, but Akshay just takes the cake. Surprisingly, the funniest portion in this entire sequence involves Farida Jalal and Kiran Kumar, one who speaks absolute gibberish and the other that speaks such fluent Urdu that no one understands what is being conveyed, much to the frustration of Akshay, that leads to sequences I have to say again, I genuinely laughed my heart out on. This is where the film peaks. Yes, there is a peak to this movie. I say this again, it made me wonder, whoa, yahan kuch ho raha hai, but the absolute deterioration in the gags and how messy this film becomes from an execution standpoint in the second half is astounding. I'm telling you, this movie in the hands of a more capable director could have actually been a genuinely entertaining winner because its first half is so tight and so solid with its gags. But let's get back to reality. The underwhelming aspects. Bheed and accommodation. Peak hours of Rajiv Chowk keh lo ya Dadar station keh lo, bheed to hai. And what's funny is that if you actually think about the context of the film on how a production company for optics sake wants to cast as many people as they can so that the budget becomes inflated, it makes sense. But because the movie is about a movie being shot and the chaos that follows when so many artists are working together, certain members of the ensemble cast are just not funny and, just to be honest, don't get scope or screen time to even create an impression. Arshad Warsi and Suniel Shetty play the sons of Uday and Majnu Bhai, and it was an interesting idea on paper, but beyond wanting to be stars and arguing with Akshay Kumar, in moments they have great chemistry together, I just honestly ended up missing the OGs, Anil Kapoor and Nana Patekar, more as I saw their bootleg versions in the form of their sons appear on screen. Farhad Samji has a tendency to have a fascination with film names and do that with multiple characters. Houseful 4 में कबूतर्स थे जिनका नाम नील, नितिन और मुकेश था. It's Entertainment में लॉयर्स थे जिनका नाम संजय लीला और बंसाली था. और यहाँ पर डायरेक्टर्स हैं देव और दास. The cinematographer played by Shreyas Talpade cannot see properly in one eye and his name is Nain Sukh. A lot of the comedic gags in Farhad Samji movies are essentially physical ailments or problems being used as the gags. One can't see properly, one is a totla, one's voice box stops working mid-speech, one can't form sentences. The gag is not the situation, but the gag is the physical ailment that they struggle with, and it makes the comedy extremely juvenile. You know, legends like Rajpal Yadav, Paresh Rawal and Johnny Lever try their best, but they are handed over really poor dialogues. They honestly try their best and my heart was reaching out to them, but the material is just not funny enough. Lara Datta plays Teja and she just yells and shouts at people and is totally wasted. For training train the cast and crew, she teaches them how to use guns and becomes the target herself that the cast should avoid. An actor with such an underrated comic timing is totally wasted. Speaking of wasted, actors like Yashpal Sharma, Mukesh Tiwari, Tushar Kapoor, Aftab Shivdasani, Krishna and Kiku are essentially just meant for the background. They fill the space but don't create an impression, and I think it's not shocking if I told you that Kiku Sharda is utilized just for fat jokes, called Kaddu every time, or used as a human step to get inside a helicopter. There are just too many people in this movie, and the worst case of me wondering कि भाई आप यहाँ क्या कर रहे हो is Daler Mehndi. The man can barely open his eyes, barely deliver his dialogues, barely even move. There are scenes where he is clearly not on set, also being superimposed with a green screen. His comedic gags produce crickets, and his integration in the film seems to be only for the sole purpose that the movie utilizes the Tunuk Tunuk track and nothing else. Lazy filmmaking, poor music, and nostalgia and meme dependence. I mean, the lazy filmmaking becomes abundantly clear the moment you see the logo of Cape of Good Films, which is entirely AI generated. The filmmaking is so lazy that whenever the influence of Zatara is to be presented on screen, I think the movie only had the budget of 30 to 40 horses, but the influence of Zatara is to be presented on a grand scale. So whenever he is described, the film cuts to this shot, which is clearly an AI prompt of hundreds of mujahideen coming on horseback. Each time Jackie Shroff as Zatara is presented as appearing to attack, the makers switch to the same AI prompt of hundreds of horses charging. They don't use different footage, they keep on recycling the same AI prompt. The lazy filmmaking is obvious in the poor dubbing too, oftentimes the dialogues not even matching the movement of the mouth of characters. The music of this movie is extremely poor, especially if you were to remember the iconic numbers of the 2007 first film. I mean, this is the creative bankruptcy we are dealing with, where after 19 years of the first film releasing, in order to excite the audience today, we are not only making an unnecessary addition to the franchise, but we are remaking songs too. I mean, I have to tell you, as a school kid, Uncha Lamba Kad was raunchy and sexy for us, and Disha looks beautiful in the song, but it's just lazy as hell. The rest of the songs are piss poor too. I love to hear Anand Raj Anand again, but it is associated with female vocals that are so auto-tuned, you wonder how it was approved in the first place. I think we all know why it was approved. Anyway, the nostalgia beating also continues with this movie, where the makers, Feroz Nadiadwala, specifically allow the makers to borrow from his universe, which is, Deewane Hue Pagal, Avara Pagal Deewana, Hera Fairy and the works. This includes Suniel Shetty's gag from Avara Pagal Deewana, where he does the "Wo kya hota hai" gag throughout the movie. The Phir Hera Fairy gorilla sequence with Johnny Lever continues here. Arshad Warsi delivers his iconic line from Jolly LLB. And there is just a lot of gags that work in isolation but look forced in the movie. I've realized that comedy movies in Bollywood have also taken the shape of what was comedy circus. You have essentially good gags in isolation, but they don't work holistically for the film. They work for the momentary laughs, but does it really stitch together as a feature film? Not really. The lazy filmmaking especially becomes abundantly clear in the second half, where it takes such a haphazard approach with its action that you conclude this movie could have easily been 20 minutes shorter. Change of theme and terrible editing. I think the downfall of the quality of this movie, especially from a comedic standpoint, happens when the makers start taking the inclusion of Jackie Shroff's character as Zatara a little too seriously. The atrocities that Azad Ganj is dealing with are so on the nose that the film becomes extremely boring and preachy. This choice to strip away the self-aware humor and integrate elements of characters having a moral conscience and standing up for the right cause is so abrupt that the movie loses the zing and humor it established so well in the first half. This is where the film goes on autopilot mode. There are sequences of arms and ammunition utilized by the cast where they are absolutely defeating the Mujahideen with ease, and the problem is not them being capable to do so, but just how badly edited these sequences are, where it seems like just random scenes have been spliced together without ever having a thought of how to make one cohesive scene. The scenes are integrated randomly, and because itni bheed hai, each character needs to be accommodated and is handed over scenes of shooting guns. While Raveena Tandon and her moments shared with Akshay are momentarily fun, her dramatic acting and arc gets extremely boring in the second half. Jacqueline Fernandez plays a version of Katrina Kaif from Tismar Khan and is essentially just looking pretty for the film. I won't lie, when explosions take place on set and Jacqueline shouted "Diwali," I genuinely laughed. Disha Patani looks extremely awkward in this movie, paired opposite Akshay Kumar, a 24-year age gap. The difference is jarring, and Disha and Jacqueline are handed over this scene in the second half where they are instructed to make arousing sexual noises to distract the terrorists, and Farida Jalal also joins in with Kanta Laga playing in the background, and that has to be one of the most embarrassing scenes from the movie. The second half, with the integration of cameos, takes the shape of a genuine fever dream of random explosions and terrible editing, where I quickly realized what kind of film this is. This is a film, ironically, much like the film being made in the film, that becomes a reality only because someone as influential as Akshay Kumar says कि film बनाते हैं. क्या है, क्यों है, कैसे है, देखी जाएगी. इस प्रोसेस में कुछ सीन्स अच्छे निकल जाते हैं, मजा आ जाता है, पर ऊपर ऊपर का ही ये फसाड है. The moment you realize that the house, the script, is built on sand versus a solid foundation, it looks pretty initially, only for it to crumble and collapse eventually. This is the experience of Welcome to the Jungle. For us to buy the flat in the apartment building, looking at the brochure, loving the honeymoon period when we first moved in, only to realize far too late the roof is leaking, the electricity is being cut, and the gas supply is not working. I won't lie to you, I had fun initially. I laughed out loud in the first half, but the makers just don't know how to stick the landing, roaming like a headless, pointless chicken in the second half, where the gags become progressively unfunny and it undoes all the fun you had initially. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Welcome to the Jungle. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handles are right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.